Hello, I'm Mark Sparshott. I'm one of the directors for Proofpoint in Europe. I'm going to talk to you about why traditional anti-spam and antivirus solutions aren't going to capture targeted spear phishing attacks, and how Proofpoint's targeted attack protection solution has been specifically designed to block these threats. So, traditional anti-spam and antivirus solutions work by building up a global baseline of what bad looks like. It's all about the scale of the honey traps that you operate, or the honey pots you operate, and also the amount of customer data that you can see to build up the profile of what bad spam looks like, what bulk phish looks like, and what bad viruses look like. So that's a global baseline. Now, a global baseline unfortunately doesn't help you when you're trying to block targeted spear phishing attacks. That's because a global baseline of what bad looks like doesn't address a spear phish, which is a sniper shot phishing email that looks good to the person that's reading it, that looks good to the IP reputation that you're using at the front end, that looks good to the sender reputation that you're using at the front end. It doesn't trigger any of the existing tools that we've built up in the industry over the last 10 years to address spam, bulk phishing, and viruses. Targeted attack protection from Proofpoint is different. In recognition of the fact that a global baseline of bad doesn't block these threats, Proofpoint's targeted attack protection builds up an individual baseline of good. So we take an analysis of your valid business traffic for your individual users and for the company as a whole. And we use this to build up that individual baseline about what good email behavior looks like for the people sending email to each of your individual users within your organization. This enables us to do one simple thing. When an email comes in and has passed through all of the traditional anti-spam, antivirus and bulk phishing layers of protection that you put in place, and has passed all of those because it doesn't look spammy, doesn't look fishy, and doesn't contain any virus payload, it arrives at Proofpoint's Anomalytics service. And this is the service that has built that baseline of what good looks like for your specific users at an individual level. And all Anomalytics does is tell us whether a message that looks clean is actually suspicious just on the normal traffic patterns for that individual user. If it is flagged as suspicious, then Proofpoint's URL defense system kicks in. And that system takes the URL that is in that email, which points off to a website that will at some point be made malicious by the cyber criminal, takes the URL and rewrites the underlying link. So from a user's perspective viewing the email, it still says the same. It still says www.bbc.co.uk. However, the underlying hyperlink points the browser to Proofpoint's URL defense system first of all. We then take that URL prior to delivering the customer email and just do a quick check of that website to see if there is any credential attack forms or any payloads and malware at that particular point. But the anatomy of a targeted attack means that at the point when the email is sent, the website's probably clean. So we've rewritten the URL, we've checked it once, and now we pass that email down to the messaging server and on to the user's inbox. But we don't just stop there. We keep going back to that website every few minutes and we check out what's happening with the URL at that particular moment in time. Has somebody just suddenly loaded a credential form on there? Are there now files for download when there weren't before? If there are, we'll take those downloads, we'll put them in a sandbox environment and analyze it. And that's an ongoing process. In the meantime, your users have received an email into their inbox. Maybe it's now 9 o'clock, they've got into the office and they've clicked the link. When they click the link, their browser will open up as normal, but for a few milliseconds, imperceptible to the end user, their browser will go off to Proofpoint's URL defense system and will say, hey, can I go to this website, yes or no? If the malware analysis still shows that there's nothing on that website, the last time we checked, then the user's browser will be told, here, go to this original URL, and that's using a web redirect. If, however, we've noticed that the website is now malicious, then we present the user's browser with a blocked access request for security reasons, and we've just protected them from falling foul of that targeted attack. However, no system's 100% perfect, especially not when it comes to these very targeted attacks. So we go another step further to give the security teams within your customers very good visibility of any threats that might have slipped through the Proofpoint net. So if we notice, and at the point that we notice a URL has become bad, we not only block all further access to that URL, we also look back through our logs and we see which users have already clicked on that link during the window of when it was known to be good and when known to be bad. And then we kick off a security alert to your security team and we say, hey, this URL's gone bad, you're now protected moving forward. Since the point where we applied that protection, there have been 10 people that have tried to access it, but they've received that blocked access request in their browser. However, before we saw it go bad, there were 2 people that clicked through to that website, and these are the 2 people that could possibly be infected. So you as a security team now need to go and look at those machines and kick off an incident response process accordingly. And that, in a nutshell, is Proofpoint's targeted attack protection.